Welcome to today's tutorial. Today, first of all, we want to look at page layout in Microsoft Excel, and then we later look at printing also. So first of all, when we go to page layout menu or page layouts tab, we have options. First of all, we can define our page size. Before we print, we should know the size of the paper that we want. Of course, we have a couple of options here, A3, A5, and A4. For the course of this lesson, we want to use A4. Now, aside from the size of the paper, there is also orientation. Orientation has to do with how the paper lies, whether you want it a portrait or you want it landscape. Portrait will be vertical, and then landscape will be horizontal, it will be lying horizontal. For us to understand more of that, let us go to the file menu and then go to print. When we click on print, if we come to orientation here, we are going to see how landscape looks like. Horizontal line and portrait looking vertical. Aside from that, there's also options for you to influence your paper type here or size during your printing session. That's notwithstanding though, there's room for us to influence our margin. The margin has to do with the distance from the edge of your paper to where your write-up starts. So let's go back again to the printing option, and then if we have a margin here, let's look at margin here. We have normal margin, wide, and narrow. If we have wide margins, you observe what happens. It broadens the gap between the edge of the paper and where the write-up stops. But if we have narrow margin, so you see it narrows or makes it very small, the gap between the edge of your paper and your write-up where it starts. The same applies with the normal one. Now, there's also options for us to break where needs be if we want to break, but in this course we're not going to break. We will not insert break. For instance, if you click inserting or break, this is where the paper will break up. Let's undo that. Aside from that, there's also options for us to influence our theme. If you're working, you can influence your theme before or after. Let's say I go to theme now and I hover my mouse across. Let's zoom in so you have a view of the charts as well. So if you look at this charts, if I go to theme, you notice as I hover my mouse through, there will be a change. You also notice the font style. There will also be a change based on the theme or working templates theme, as the case may be. So I can choose to settle on any of this that I wish. It will influence my default font size, font type, as well as my color, chart color. Of course, you can manually influence the chart color by hovering. This could be maintained. That's what I mean is the font style here, the default font style could be maintained, but you can also influence the theme further by manipulating your color template or your color theme as well. The same has to do with the default font. You can manually manipulate them or edit them to have what you wish to for yourself. Of course, before we print, we should ensure that our works are arranged in an orderly manner. If we are not comfortable with the arrangement, we can as well go to File and then we look at Print. We're going to have a preview of how the printing will look like. So if we say Print Active Sheets, that means it's only these current sheets that are active that will be printed. Of course, if you screw your mouse, you'll be seeing each of the sheets. There's also options for you to print the entire work, meaning the entire sheets, whether sheet 1, sheet 2, or sheet 3 will be printed. Of course, there's room for you to influence the page numbering as well. This is what I mean. Of course, do remember that we could have sheet 1 and sheet 2. So printing one sheet or active sheet means the whole of the content of the sheet, while printing the entire document means it will print everything in here and then everything on the other sheet as well. Of course, in terms of view, the view layout will help you have a view knowledge of what this will look like when printed. You can as well move from the normal view to the page break view. So this shows you how your work will be when printed. Page 1, page 2, page 3, and so on. Of course, you can manually rearrange them to align with what you want. The essence of this page break preview is to help you see how your output result will look like, so you adjust to your own comfortable view or arrangement as the case may be. Of course, we can have each of them on page layout, each page separated. We can use the horizontal scroll bar to look at it. You can also zoom out to see each of them in detail. So when we are done and comfortable with what you have, we can as well go to print and then influence our collated options. There are two types of collation here, the collated and the non-collated. Collated means that papers or sheets or pages will be coming 1, 2, 3 as regarding page numbering. But if you have uncollated, what that means is that if you're printing up to 5 copies of your work, it will print page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separately. In other words, page 1 to print 5 copies of page 1, and then later start with page 2, 5 copies, later start with page 3, 5 copies. That's what uncollated means. But collated means it will print the first set of page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts, and then start again, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then cuts. Of course, you know you have to select your printer in here, and the active one will be green ticked as well. It's important for us to also note that we can as well print a selected chart. Let's say we have a chart here and we want to print this chart alone. So having select that chart, we go to File and then we go to Print. And then from this, you're going to see that it is only the file that appears. If you look at the numbering here, it's only 1 of 1, just only the file. And then down in here in the printing options, we have that print selected chart has been the options enabled only. So take note of that. As regard this also, whenever you're printing, let's say you want to print a selected range of data, and then you have selected that, and then you go to File and you go to Print. You also notice that you can as well choose Print Selection. So it is only that selected data that will appear as well. And so you also have, let's say we go to our margin and then we have a narrow margin, and then we wish to print it alone. We can come into zooms and then manipulate our data sources here, so we can have everything incorporated into that print layout. So now we have our print layout. That's to say our paper sheet still looks like we have something left though. Let's select this, and then we now go to File, we go to Print Selection. So now this is what we have. The entire of that data as regarding the columns and the rows, every series and categories has been incorporated into this. So that's how you can print a selected chart and also a selected range of data as well. Of course, take note that before you print, you should specify the numbers of copy before you hit the print icon. Of course, as regarding printer's property, you should also endeavor that you check on the advanced option to be assured that your printer is also set on the paper size that you have also assigned your drawing or your your projects to as well. In addition to that, there's also a need for you to be aware that you can as well enable a printing of your grid lines. These are grid lines here, so you could enable them, but really not ideal or not advisable that you do it. So do make sure that you guard against printing your grid as well. Of course, your work when printed should be as neat as possible as it should be. So thank you so much for your time. Please do make sure you subscribe and you like, you share, and leave any comments as regarding anything you want to learn in Excel, and hopes to see you in our next class. Thanks and remain abundantly blessed.